So Dermot, would you be able to tell us a little bit about the history of the barracks then?
Certainly, Mark. Well, the barracks here, the tenders went out for the building of the barracks in 1799. The land was owned by the Wise family of the Manor of St. John, and so they owned all the land going from down St. John's Prairie right out as far as Prior's Knock, and they owned all the land, and they owned the land here. So the land was actually leased off the Wises, not bought, but leased off the Wises, and the barracks then was built around from 1799 onwards. The barracks was built. There was a further barracks built called the Cavalry Barracks, which was up in Carter's Avenue, which I believe we will visit later on.
Okay, doke. And so what was the use of this barracks here then?
Well, it was all during from the period just after the 1798 rebellion. It was the main barracks in the city, and it was a very, very peaceful city actually, because there were so many soldiers. I said both here in the military barracks and the artillery barracks, or the cavalry barracks as it was known, in Carter's Avenue.
So how would the military have impacted on the city then?
Well, it would have made it a very, very peaceable place, insofar as that there was so much military. It was actually, and you would have had warships down on the quay. So it was very, very peaceful city.
Okay, one second there now, I'm just going to focus on it again. And would the military have brought much to the area, say economically?
Well, they would have brought employment, they would have brought oppression, and to a degree, if you know what I mean. Sometimes they were very much in favour with the populace, and other times they weren't. And if I may give you a very quick story about the military, everybody knows about the Magdalen because it's very, very popular the past couple of years speaking about the Magdalens. But the first Magdalen house, again I'll show you later on, was only a little bit down the road. And sometimes they were the objects of the desire of the soldiers coming up from the pubs, coming back up to the barracks here. And on several occasions the Magdalen Institute was broken into, the lads hoping to gain access to the fallen women inside.
Okay. And what other, I was going to say uses, but what other things happened in the barracks afterwards? So
well,
the barracks has changed over the past...
The barracks has changed, and I suppose really it was after the War of Independence, when the truce came, it's the IRA and not the Free State Army that actually took over the barracks. And there is a photograph of a group of IRA men here standing in the archway of the barracks. And so it was the IRA actually took over the barracks. And during the Civil War, again the barracks was manned by the IRA, as were many buildings, such as on Ballybricken, the jail. And these were all manned by the IRA, or the anti-treaty side, during the Civil War.
And again, even further on from that, it changed even more so into more recent times as...
Well, subsequent to that then, as I say, when the barracks, this is one of the barracks that was actually closed, and it was decided to do, I think the term they use is infill housing. And so it was, its final destination, so to speak, has been small apartments within the parade ground, yep, and the old officers' quarters and the quarters of the ordinary soldiers.
I even heard from time to time that they had it as the Mount Sign, when the Mount Sign had a fire. I think there was something about Mount Sign had a fire, and they came over for several years and they used the barracks as a school.
Don't know.
And also there was a carnival.
Of course, you had the famous Ballybricken Carnival, yeah, which started again in the 1940s, and I'm from only up the road here, and you would actually see, I remember this man, the leap of death, and he was diving from 70 foot high into a pool of water, and you would have all the various little, it weren't craft place at the time, but there were the Wheel of Fortune and the buzzers, and it was absolutely fantastic. And that was started by the famous character Father Farrell from Ballybricken for funds for the church.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, Dermot, in your opinion, what is the bakery important to the street's history?
The bakery?
Yeah.
Of course it was essential. I mean, most people went to the shop, not necessarily for the type of bread we associate nowadays, but because many women baked at home. But things like blaz, for instance. I mean, it would have been a huge trade in Blas, you know. But I think going backwards, that the bigger bakeries may have been functioning. I suppose I don't really know the type of food, but bakeries would have been in existence. But it would have been perhaps people coming into town, like the farmer's wife would come into town and buy bread in town. But I think the ordinary working class people, a great many of them, like I don't ever remember going, my mother or grandmother going to the bakery. They always baked at home. So it's a very good question, Mark.
Okay. And would you be able to tell us a little bit more about Blas themselves, you know, and about their origin?
Well, the origin, I suppose, is steeped in mystery. Some people associate them with the Huguenots, and some people say that the word Blas is just a corruption of the word blanc, the French word meaning white, and the white flour and that. So, but having said that, they are undeniably a very, very Waterford delicacy, and they actually, so much so that some people in Waterford now have gone to Europe to try and have them definitely as a designated Waterford food, and indeed for generations they have been.